proclamation here this evening for Virginia Sperling, who is 100 years old. And we would like to read the proclamation. Virginia, this is for you. Whereas Virginia Sperling has been actively involved as model citizen in Avon Lake for many years. She exemplifies the highest ideals of volunteerism and selfless service to others. And whereas Virginia has been actively involved in the Avon on the Lake Garden Club since 1960, the Women's Club of Avon Lake, the Red Hat Mamas, her love of reading makes her a knowledgeable and interesting conversationalist. And whereas in her spare time, Virginia enjoys gardening, designing floral arrangements, crafting for fundraisers, and participating in scholarship fundraisers. She has many friends because she is a friend to many. And now, therefore, I, Gregory J. Zilka, Mayor of the City of Avon Lake, Ohio, do hereby and recognize Virginia Sperling for her outstanding accomplishments during her 100 years of life, and extend to her our deepest appreciation for all of her dedicated work, and wish her all the best in her future endeavors. Signed on this 4th day of November, 2018, Greg Zilka, Mayor, City of Avon Lake. Mrs. Sperling, congratulations.
The Ohio glass manufacturing industry is an area that it's either a love-hate situation. Residents love to recycle their glass. Cities hate to have the glass recycled because oftentimes when the glass is picked up, there's little grainy bits of it that's left on the streets, which I know the mayor and Joe, you've all had calls about, and I think all the council people have seen on the streets. But there's a reason why you want to recycle glass, which we're going to be getting into in just a little bit. If you look at the bottom line here, I know Steve Presley always looks at bottom lines. If you look at the bottom line, there's a demand of 165,000 to 185,000 tons of new glass cullet per year. Just like a phone call with your cell phone, you can go on to a do not mail list. You can end unsolicited credit card offers by telling the major credit card agencies not to sell your information to direct mail and credit card companies. There's a phone number here that you can opt out of. That phone number is open 24 hours a day. And for the residents at home, it's 888-567-8688. Again, 888-567-8688.
Republic Waste has said that they really can't collect glass anymore because the trucks crush it, and then you have brown, clear, and green glass, and it has to be separated. How can we collect glass without doing the old-fashioned putting it in bins and then having multiple bins, which would take us back a few, perhaps 10 or 12 years? How do you deal with that where it doesn't shatter and break and then they can't use it?
Well, Mayor, that's a real problem. It really is. And I know that in some of the documentation that the council has that wasn't up on the wall, there was a glass container recycling loop, and you have to separate out your bottle glass, which are all those different colors, right, from the window glass and the mirror glass. You cannot put crystals in mirror glass. All that goes into trash. So that's one way to separate it. So there's two types of ways to separate out glass. One is exactly what you're saying, green, brown, clear, right? The other way is that you put it all together into one. Now, in Ohio, Belden Brick is one of the companies that utilizes all that crushed glass, whether it's green, brown, or clear. And they use it in the bricks that you see that have kind of the glistening part of it. That's the main use here. That's a real problem, and that's one of the reasons why the Ohio EPA has very large grants to universities to try to figure that out.
So with that, I'll turn this over to the Law Director, Mr. Lieberman.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. As you know, a few weeks ago, Council voted on whether or not to approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission to permit an amendment to the Legacy Point General Development PUD. The vote was 3-3 because one of the council members was not present. We advised that we would do a research and give an opinion as to our what we thought the result was. Based upon that, it was our opinion that no action was taken by a 3-3 tie. Our opinion was based on the ordinance regarding the approval of general development plans. It was based on the charter, and it was based on case law that we were able to find. We did extensive research. The assistant law director and I discussed it between ourselves and with other legal counsel. We recognize that the opinion will not make everybody happy, and perhaps nobody will be happy, and that also that some may disagree with our conclusion. We've also considered the arguments against what we've concluded, but we believe that our opinion is correct and we stand behind it.
Thank you, Mr. Lieberman. Mrs. Campbell, do you want to make a statement?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I was out of town during the meeting where this was voted on, and I felt horrible about it. I have talked to many of the residents that would be affected by this development, and obviously listened to everybody that came to the many meetings. The reason I was out of town is my daughter had an emergency surgery. She's a type 1 diabetic, which makes things a little more complicated. So obviously, I think everybody understands my being absent. That being said, I was very candid with everyone I spoke to that had I been here, I would have voted yes. I think the council president very eloquently summed up why I was going to be voting yes. I respect all of the people on council. They've been doing this much longer than I have, and I differed in some people's opinions, but in my opinion, I felt legally obligated to follow what Planning Commission suggested. I understand the concerns. There are going forward, there will be other votes, and everyone's requires something different from me in terms of looking at it. But Planning Commission knows that the codes and what is required much better than I do. So with a 7-0 vote for that plan, that's where I felt my responsibility lied, was with following the law.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are several items on the agenda for public service this evening. The first is the Peter Miller House lease. This is a historic home, the first home, I believe, in Avon Lake that was built. It's in our Miller Road Park. That has been leased to the Avon Lake Historical Society for a number of years now. It was originally leased under an ordinance. There was no formal lease agreement in place. The group had approached us for renewing the lease. With discussions in the administration, a lease was prepared appropriate for a third party to lease that property and make use of it. This was discussed by Public Service. The group, the Heritage Avon Lake, came in and discussed their plans for the park, for the property rather. The Public Service Committee recommended approving this lease. It's a 10-year lease for $1 a year, which is appropriate given the usage of that property, and forward this to the collective committee meeting and city council for approval.
Go to the next item, Mr. James.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next item is a waiver of fees for a St. Jude Dream Home. I think most folks are familiar with St. Jude. They're a wonderful charity that does work and research on children's diseases and other efforts. They would like to build a home here in Avon Lake, give away that home, and the proceeds would benefit the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. However, to do that, they're asking the city for some assistance and to waive some of the fees that are associated with building a home like that here in our community.
Is a change in the deadlines for the sewer separation lateral project. Avon Lake Regional Water during the month of October processed a lot of comments as to how many homeowners need to comply by the end of November, how many need to have their inspections, and on and on and on. And in looking at the intent, and the intent is to become separated, but to give the residents what they need so that they can do that, they came up with a little different path forward, which you're going to be hearing more and more about. Briefly, this is November 30th. Everyone who's on the November 30th inspection deadline needs to have their inspections done by the end of the month. Right now, there's just 2 homes out there that have not had their inspections, and we are beseeching you, please have your inspections, because the next step will be a very strict court process. Those who need to have their properties in compliance, and they're in that November deadline, they've been given until the end of April 30th, to have their properties in compliance. Those who have the April 30th and the June 30th dates for inspection need to have all their inspections done in April and need to have all of their compliance done at the latest by June 30th. There's no more extensions. That's the end. The next process that we will be taking place will be unfortunately, a city and a court process.
But yard waste collection in the brown bags, as well as the marked yard waste receptacles, will be picked up for another 3 collections. So basically, it'll be picked up through the collection after Thanksgiving, so through the month of November. So that is still ongoing. That is part of our normal contract with Republic Waste, so they will pick that up. Branch collection, this is the last week for branch collection. We got through the city last week with additional trucks. So we're gonna make one more sweep with branches while we gear up for leaf collection. We currently have 3 trucks out on the road picking up leaves. I'm guessing that, next week, if the leaves continue to aggressively fall as they are, we will start posting the truck routes on our city website. So the last thing I want to mention is please, please, please separate your branches from your leaves. If our guys go out there and are picking up leaves with that truck, they will skip your pile of branches. Many times people try to hide branches in the leaves, and that'll either cause problems for our truck, or we will just simply skip it and completely leave. So the best thing to do is to separate branches from your leaves. We will pick up the leaves during the thick of the season, and then we will come back on branches once the leaf season is over. And lastly, and I really reach out to anybody that has any interest, we are still looking for fall leaf help. We only have 3. In the past, we've had 6 to 8 people helping us for that. We are down to 3, and therefore it basically keeps 1 additional truck off of the road by not having those extra people. So if anybody is interested, you can get applications here at City Hall to apply for that. We are still looking for a number of people if you are interested. Thank you very much.